Vintage 2022. So basically, again, if you're looking at Bordeaux here, the issue was they had two really blasts of heat waves that came through. So it was very, very hot. And the last time this actually happened in Bordeaux was 2003, which made the wines very high in alcohol, almost to a point where they made these big, gigantic, rich, over-the-top kind of wines. When I was there in Bordeaux in 2003, I was saying, oh, I think Americans are going to like this kind of style of wines. It's very reminiscent of California, because California wines have that high alcohol, that big, rich, kind of dense fruit. Bordeaux's not used to that. So in comparison to that vintage, it was completely unique. It's almost like the vines are now assimilating to this kind of heat that they're getting every year in this area. Used to be, it was very hard to get, that type of sunshine and heat, like back in the 70s and the 60s and everything like that. You had not very good vintages. Like for instance, 70s, 71 vintage, 72, 73, 74, all really bad years. So now you're getting a lot of good years almost every year. So it's completely unique. But the 22, everybody was quite surprised because they thought, oh, we have such a hot year. How is the grapes going to be able to adapt, especially Merlot? Because Merlot, as you can see, this grape doesn't do well in heat. And Merlot is predominantly in this area, where Cabernet is more in this area.
The left bank.
Right, the left bank. So in Cabernet Franc, which is a smaller production, is over here. So that's actually giving these wines a lot more strength. But what was interesting about this vintage from the standpoint of location, which all the best chateaus on the left bank are located by the river here. So this area is the River Giron. Mm-hmm. So what happens here in very, very severe heat, you're starting to get at night these kind of breezes from this river, because see, the water comes in here from the Atlantic and comes down here this way, and then with it brings this cooling temperature, which actually is good for the vines. So any chateaus that are near the river here is always beneficial to this kind of like temperature control system that they have here, which is great. So all the best wines this year were these wines.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's fascinating because you have maritime sea breezes coming this way, and it affects actually the grapes when you get this maritime kind of quality. And then you have this is also it's like it's a river that's flowing constantly here, but it's also providing this cooling technique here. So not to be different, but this area is a lot of limestone and a lot of chalk. So the vines actually had a chance to get water nourishment because the vines are going down deeper into the ground to bring up water. So you're getting a lot of this. It actually took care of the vine and the plant. Not to say that it wasn't hot up at the top, but everything was going down below the ground because of that soil. So, but this is typical Bordeaux, and so when you get down here in Graves, there's a lot of forest area here. You don't get that forest here, but you get all that forest, and that's another microclimate that's completely unique and different in Bordeaux. And when you smell a lot of these wines, you get that deep forest kind of scent with the trees and everything.
I love Graves. When it comes to heavy minerality, big body wines.
Yeah.
And Saint-Emilion, so.
Yeah, that's so Saint-Emilion is located on a limestone hill. So they always say that the best wines in Saint-Emilion are near the town.
Okay.
Saint-Emilion itself. There was such a person as Saint-Emilion.
I didn't know.
Yeah, he was a monk actually, and so this area is quite famous for not only for him, but the city itself gets about 1 million tourists every year. So it's a tourism place. They come and see, 14th century churches and
it's almost like a pilgrimage.
Yes, it is. It's like a pilgrimage to see this. Actually, you bring up a very valid point, because this area was on the Pilgrim Road to Spain you know, to St. James, you know, so they would come here and they would stop in this area and rest, and then you know, be coming down from England through this area, walking all the way down, and Spain is below here, so you're quite close to northern Spain as well. But you know, this is all these different microclimates. Of course, Pomerol is very tiny. As you can see, it's a small appellation, and it's Merlot driven, so these wines are very Merlot, but there's clay here. So this is clay, and then this is limestone. And then you've got also sand and clay. But that's, and the Libourne is actually a big city town here, where a lot of the merchants are. And this is the river, Garonne, that comes this way, and it keeps going here. So you got another river here that's flowing through this area. So and then this is Entre de Mer. We'll get a chance to taste some Entre de Mer whites, because this is the largest region in Bordeaux here. That's Entre de Mer. So that's white and red, and but it's split, so that's why they call it between the two seas. So you have two rivers, one flowing here to Langon, and then you have the other one here flowing along Libourne. And it's quite a big river, so if you come in this area and you cross the bridges on Libourne, you'll see the river, and it's quite a kind of a fierce river going this way, especially when it rains, you know. But yeah, that's and then this is the basin of Arcachon, so this is quite famous for oysters. So people come, you know, a lot of the chateau owners own summer homes here, and they drive from downtown Bordeaux here, and it's about a 45-minute drive. But once you get here, you're right on the Atlantic Ocean, and you got all these restaurants that are all here in Arcachon, because that's big for the oysters. Right here is the basin of Arcachon, and you can see how straight this is. So these are sand dunes. Some of these dunes are 200 feet high from the erosion, from all the wind coming this way. So think about the wind that's constantly coming this way from the ocean, and you know, giving this whole area like a cooling system. That's why it's so unique, Bordeaux, because you don't get this type of microclimate anywhere else in the world. And of course, it's great for Cabernet Sauvignon. You know, that's why this whole Medoc here is all Cabernet.
Well, it was all human-made, right? They drained the marshes. So
yeah, that's up here. So you see in the Medoc. So they had the Corps of Engineers from Holland. They were very famous. You know, people who they were like civil workers, and basically this whole area was marshland. And it was, so in the wintertime, this actually river kind of rises, and it used to flood. So you would get water coming all along here, and this beginning coming here. Wow. And so what they did was they you can even see windmills today. So you go to this area, you'll see windmills that was actually drying this land, and it was built by the Dutch. Huh. So the Dutch came in because they knew how to control flooding and land. So yeah, now today, which maybe 300 years ago, there was no vineyards here. You got vineyards because of that drainage that they did.